everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. This is going to be the astro weather for November 5th through the 12th of 2023. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Sunday. I hope your weekend is fabulous. We're going to be touching base on a number of things this week. We've got some major headlines, but probably the one that got you guys at the title was Venus entering into the sign of Libra. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you guys like my content, drop me a comment below and give me a thumbs up. Click that bell button so you're alerted as to when new videos are coming out on the channel. Now this week we're going to be seeing a couple different things going on. Just generally practicing empathy. That's going to be a big move, especially with aspects between Mercury and Neptune. This is going to really allow us to focus more on communication and getting the point across in a more sympathetic manner. This is also going to be really wonderful for intuition and really kind of tapping into something. Now later in the week, we're going to see Mercury change signs and come into a square with Saturn, so communication does hit a bit of a road bump. We're also going to be seeing a very fierce new moon in Scorpio, conjunct Mars in opposition to Uranus. It's going to be a little spicy, and Venus will be moving into the sign of Libra. So that's going to be really positive because this is a very significant shift for relationships, resources, finances, and karmic matters relating to relationships, because after all, Venus rules Libra, and that is the sign that the South Node is in. But overall, much better news, especially for relationships and for harmony. Venus has gone through some really difficult kind of territory in recent months since the nodal changes took place. So we saw Venus kind of go through Virgo, where it's been a little bumpy, finishing off with some, contacts with outer planets in this last week. Opposition to Neptune, where we're kind of feeling a little bit unloved or are not really kind of feeling the support maybe that we were hoping to get from another person or another situation. And Venus has also been making, some trines we're going to see this week to Pluto. So right at the tail end of that, segue, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with outer planets. So you guys want to watch for that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Venus in Libra, because like I said, this is going to be really positive. I'm liking seeing both the North Node ruler Mars and the South Node ruler Libra being in their ruling sign. So those of you guys who are ruled by Mars or ruled by Venus, you're going to be really feeling like the charge of the planets being in these particular signs. In astrology, obviously, Venus rules over several key areas of our life. So it's connected to love, relationships, beauty, art, aesthetics, harmony, values, and socializing. So the big themes that I think that we're going to be seeing, in connection to Venus switching signs is just change in regards to romantic relationships. Those of you guys who have been feeling kind of the rough and tumble effects of the Venus retrograde this summer, that will start to taper off a little bit. It's going to get a little bit easier, especially because Venus represents attraction and affection and our capacity for forming loving relationships. So when Venus moves through the sign that it's associated with, it's going to be easier to do that. Beauty and aesthetics is going to be a huge theme as well. So if you guys have been real sticklers with the astrology, maybe waiting until Venus got out of the retrograde or out of Virgo before making some big aesthetic changes, now is a better time. Generally, obviously, you got to look at your chart. But because Venus is connected to beauty and art and aesthetic appreciation, the shift is going to be better for all of our tastes. So whether that's for visual or sensory experiences, fashion, design, art, and the pursuit of what we find visually appealing is going to be a little bit easier with this segue. Creativity as well, because Venus is connected to creativity and artistic endeavors. So it's going to encourage the development of artistic talent and also enjoying that pursuit, especially with other people. Values and personal worth are going to be a huge theme because Venus does impact what we find valuable and how we assess our worth, where we're investing our time and our energy. So in the sign of, the sign of Libra, it might be where we're really reevaluating what we need in relationships, what we value in relationships. And it can actually be an upward swing, both for relationships, but as well as financial situations. I do think that because Venus is a feminine kind of energy and she's moving through Libra, which is actually masculine. It's really going to be talking about us kind of tapping into taking action in relationships where we are actively focusing on nurturing and connecting to people emotionally. And are we being receptive, to partnerships in general? It doesn't just have to be romantic. It can be clients, it can be friendships, it can be just connecting with people socially. So generally when we see this shift into this particular sign, these things get a little bit easier. Now, those of you guys who have a natal Venus in Libra, or maybe you have a 7th house Venus, you may resonate with a lot of this, but something that I notice with Venus when it's in Libra, or those who have this natally, is there's like a natural charm that they have and grace. So Venus, when it's in, Libra, we find that we can be a little bit more charming, relationships are a little bit more pleasant. There is like a sense of elegance with this placement. And it can be a little bit more refined, especially when it comes to approaching relationships and social interactions. I also feel like there is a strong sense of fairness and balance whenever you're talking about the sign of Libra. So as Venus comes into this sign, we're going to be really focusing on, individual values and whether or not we feel like there's fairness and equality in certain relationships. Huge theme, especially because we're eventually going to see Venus come into contact with the South Node. You guys have seen a whole slew of planets come into contact with the South Node in Libra in recent weeks, so this is going to be like the final one. But this might be the one that packs a punch. I'll be doing a video this week talking about Venus's trek, and we'll take a look at all the aspects throughout the next couple of weeks of this transit. But I do feel like you may notice that people are more generous, they're more affectionate. They may be, having a little bit more respect in relationships. Maybe there's going to be a little bit more stepping up and more give and take going on in regards to relationships with other people. We might also find that it's helping us be a little bit more of like a peacemaker, or focusing more on really, lending a helping hand or a support to other people in our social circles. And because Venus does really well in Libra, it does so well for gestures of kindness, gift giving, creating beautiful, harmonious atmosphere, whether it's date night or it's paint night or something that you want to be doing with your friends and family. It's going to be about putting all those small kind of aesthetic touches on things. So it's wonderful for like shopping for gifts, for wrapping things, for creating cards and works of art and things that you might be creating for other people. I do notice that there's generally an uptick in social activity when Venus is in Libra. There is a sense of being a little bit more of a social butterfly, especially because Libra is a cardinal air sign, so it does like to move around a bit. But this particular transit allows us, I think, to connect to our natural ability to be able to connect with people and focus on relationship building. Generally, this helps us also enjoy the company of other people and excel in some of these social settings. Now, a few things that we might notice that does come up with Venus moving through the sign. With all signs, we see higher and lower kind of octaves of that energy. But one, I think, would be indecisiveness. So Venus moving through Libra, we can see that there is balance and there is harmony, but there can be a sense of having challenges with decision-making in relationships. Something that we're going to notice about this Venus transit is that as planets have gone through Libra, they're not really aspected, right? We're not really seeing the stereotypical normal, aspects to other planets. Actually, when planets have been going through Libra, they have been opposing Chiron, so it's been bringing up issues relating to other people or personal wounds that have been coming up or that are being inflicted. We've been seeing inconjuncts to planets in Pisces, which means there are things that kind of hit us out of left field that we don't really see coming up. And we also see inconjuncts to Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So it's like, man, if anything, maybe the takeaway is that because we see sextiles between the placements in Pisces and the placements in Taurus, where there are things behind the scenes that we do not see, there are things that are shifting in regards to resources, money, and values. Maybe this sextile between these two particular signs and the inconjunct that it's made to planets moving through Libra is showing us where relationship shakeups, changes. In recent weeks, it's been disharmony because Mercury, Mars, and the Sun have gone through there. Is really showing us where there is a breakdown or a dissolving maybe, or there is like a change that's going on with our physical relationship to things or other people. I think that we may see something similar, but once again, that's a little bit down the road. really the only significant aspect that I think we're going to be seeing is eventually we'll see some sextiles between planets that are in Sagittarius, sextiling Venus in Libra. So there is a sense of, as we kind of ease into Sagittarius season here at the end of the month, more optimism, moving around, having a little bit more positivity, being more open-minded, and how that allows us to actually relate to other people better, or maybe learning from our relationships. And then Venus will finish off with a square to Pluto and a quincunx to Neptune. So she's going to conjunct the South Node. So she's got some of the same kind of passages that the other planets have had to go through, which I think is symbolizing a lot of change and change, switch-ups in relationships. Venus in Libra can also be an energy that is about conflict avoidance. So you know, sometimes when people either have this natally or when we have this transit, we will go to great lengths to avoid conflict and confrontations. And likely that's because Libra generally does prefer to smooth things over. They want to find a compromise. They want to focus on, you know, building the strengths and kind of minimalizing weaknesses in relationships. There can be high standards with Venus and Libra, though, so that's something else that does come up. You know, sometimes natal placements with Venus and Libra can have high standards in love and relationships, primarily because they're seeking a partner who shares their same value and harmonious connection. So there might be a somewhat idealistic view of like love and relationships. Some may say that Venus in Libra can be more superficial as well. So there can be a sense of, you know, what do we add, you know, to make it look more beautiful? What tweaks or things can we change to kind of make something or someone appear a little bit more attractive? You know, Taurus is ruled by Venus as well. And the difference is that this is like a fixed earth kind of sign. So it does deal with natural beauty, what is physical, what is kind of grounded and not altered, right? Just something that's just very earthy and natural. Versus Libra, which happens to be 6 signs away from Taurus, which is, well, this is off, or we need to tweak this, or we need to change that, which is why we see a lot of people with really strong Libra placements, or, you know, maybe Venus in the 6th house that will work in cosmetic, like healthcare, or they'll work as an interior designer, or they'll work as a stylist or a beautician, you know, somebody who can look at it and go, you're beautiful as it is, let's make it better. And they know how to add all of the pops of color and all of the aesthetic changes to make it look a little bit more appealing. I do think for the most part it's positive, because I think overall, just generally, we're going to see people a little bit more partnership oriented. So I think that some of us might be feeling like we're actually thriving in our relationships. We've overcome some of the challenges of this summer with the retrograde and finding fulfillment in having closer bonds with other people. So for many of us, I think seeking companionship or a partnership or a collaboration might actually be just what we need to move through some of the more challenging transits that we're going to see in the month of November. And I think for many of us, we will also appreciate the shift socially that we might see for a little bit, for an appreciation for diplomacy. So I think that we might see situations where we're really leaning into being more of a peacemaker, excelling in, you know, negotiations and mediation, whether that's in your relationship or out in the world, or, you know, in your professional life, you know, trying to find like the middle ground with people, and finding a knack for mutually satisfying, you know, any situation where there is a conflict that needs a solution. Okay. So look forward to that this month. If you guys stay tuned to the end of the video, I will take you through the 12 signs, and I'll talk about where Venus is moving through your house and what sweetness Venus might be bringing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the week ahead. So we're going to be looking at November 5th, like I said, through what appears to be the 12th. So we're going to start with today, as you guys are watching on Sunday. So happy Sunday to my Sunday crew. Honestly, these energies have already started. I've already started feeling them myself, and I had to go back and actually, me personally, watch my own astro weather for the week to kind of see what was building over this weekend. As you guys are waking up in the morning, the moon is still in Leo. So if you guys remember last week, I talked about how we get into about Saturday, Sunday, and the astrology gets a little hairy because we're going to be seeing some fixed squares. Essentially, when the moon is in Leo, we are really focusing on creativity, joy, happiness, love, spending time with children, self-expression. And so we always look to the sun when the moon is in Leo for about 2.5 days. And the sun and Mars are in close proximity in Scorpio. So it's intense, it's passionate, it is fixated, it is wanting to fight, it's wanting to take action somehow. So this aspect, that we're experiencing this morning is the moon square sun, moon square Mars. Probably not the easiest transit, to be honest with you. Since yesterday, the moon's been in Leo, and over the evening, it was in a square to Jupiter, so it made situations feel maybe bigger or further inflamed. And as we're waking up, the moon is squaring the sun, so we feel like things are a little disjointed, things are discombobulated. Oftentimes, I find that when the sun and the moon square, it's like a day where things don't go as planned. Fixed signs, they don't want to change. And these are also financial signs. So it's more than just kind of like potential drama that's, creating some issues that's disrupting your schedule. This can also be financial stuff that's going on globally. Taurus deals with money, resources, physical possessions, what you're eating, what you physically own, what's in your wallet, right? Leo represents, taking chances. It represents gambling. It can be the markets. It can also be the news that's popping today that's going to be impacting the markets in the beginning of this next week. And Scorpio deals with debt and money owed. So to be honest with you, these fixed T-squares are just a total pain in the ass. The square that you're experiencing today is likely going to be potentially bringing up some drama. And it's going to just feel like a, moon square Uranus. Something is suddenly changing. I had this and now I don't. And here's the drama. Because, the fixed signs, like I said, don't like to change. And then the moon square sun and Mars can bring some kind of agitation or some kind of conflict. I do think the drama is over who has what, whose things belong to who, what you're giving versus what you're receiving. And like I said, it's a little bit more intense because the dispositor happens to be in conjunction to Mars. Now, Sun and Mars in Scorpio is also about research. It's about digging deep, getting to the truth of the matter, uncovering something. So likely there can be some intense emotions that come up as a result of something that needs to be dealt with, or it needs to be acknowledged or healed or released or let go. One way that I've kind of seen this play out just recently, the last couple of days, I don't know if you guys have seen it, like dozens of people sent me links to this on like my Twitter and on my Instagram. And I caught it, best believe I caught it because I was talking to you guys about this last month. Apparently, Americans' bank deposits have been having processing issues at the private sector operator of the automated clearinghouse. So I noticed this actually a couple days ago. I went to take a mobile deposit. I bank with Bank of America, and I go to take a mobile deposit, and it won't take. And I'm like, what's going on? And it wouldn't deposit. And I was like, you know what? I'll go to the bank. Not a big deal. And then I start getting all these links from people saying, have you seen this? Well, apparently, U.S. banks said in a statement that it's aware of what's going on and that there's an industry-wide technical issue. Apparently, this affected not just Bank of America, but Chase and Wells Fargo as well. And some are claiming that they're even having issues withdrawing funds also. So apparently they're having issues with direct deposit systems being able to hit. Now, I've seen stuff all over social media, Instagram, Twitter or X, people saying, well, I deposited my check. It's saying I'm not going to get it for a week, or, I've deposited my funds. Why isn't it hitting? I can't receive the funds that I need. And there's a delay. I signed into my account, my mobile account, and it was saying, if you try to process anything on the 3rd, don't call us. Basically, we're trying to work it out. We're trying to fix it. Kind of scary. That's very much the oppositions that we're starting to see that is happening, where there's drama as a result of what's going on with financial systems and people going, I want my money. I don't remember if it was my November month ahead or if it was last week or the last 2 weeks transits. I mean, I even talk about it in my new moon video. the sun and Mars are about to come into a direct opposition with Uranus on the new moon. So people are going to be like, yeah, screw you, pay me. So there's going to definitely be some issues with people trying to get money on and off of exchanges or in and out of banks. And we're going to unfortunately see this continue. So I would assume that there's probably more people getting upset and agitated, feeling like they're not getting access to their funds or realizing that funds are actually vanishing. Which leads me to the next thing. So as of today, I'm filming this actually on Saturday, Citizens Bank has gone under. It's been, added to the laundry list of banks that have collapsed. Apparently all of their deposits were seized, and the FDIC updated their list stating this, and the fact that the resources within the bank have been seized. So people, it's not funny. Some people can't get their money. They may have their life savings and even, 401ks and other thing like in jeopardy. So the question is, who's next? And for me, I was sitting there reading this being like, this just sounds like there's some bank runs going on, but they're actually claiming it's a result of there being issues with the systems. And now we've got banks that are collapsing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you guys seen that news? Did you experience that? But we'll see the moon continue to move through Leo, and, first thing in the morning, it's coming out of the square with the sun, but then it's squaring Mars. So I could see some people waking up in the morning being like, I thought I was going to, have my direct deposit, or I thought that I was going to receive a refund for something, or that somebody was going to pay me back, or whatever. And people are responding in a dramatic fashion, the moon in Leo, to some kind of drama revolving around a give or take situation. Now, the other thing that we're going to be seeing that's going to be taking place is we're also going to be experiencing Venus, which is just now coming out of the opposition with Neptune. So I'm wondering if there's something connected to this. This has been happening the last couple of days, but Venus in opposition to Neptune is like, where's the love? Where's the money? Where's the support? So that's another way that this could be kind of materializing. And we're going to watch the moon keep moving through Leo, and it looks like it's going to pick up a square to Mars midday. So that's feeling like emotionally under pressure and like kind of agitated, especially because this is a closing square. We're getting ready to come into the new moon soon. And we're going to see the moon pick up a square to Uranus in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. So then the second square that we'll see will be the moon square Uranus. So unlike when the moon was square Sun and Mars, we're agitated, things aren't going according to plan. Maybe somebody cancels, it costs us something. We're like, okay, well now what do I do with these tickets? Something like that could happen, especially pertaining to like entertainment or events. Then the moon is going to come into a square with Uranus, which feels like a little emotionally destabilized, and it's almost like whatever happened earlier in the day, now we're kind of feeling the physical or the financial effect of that change by the end of Sunday. My advice is, arguing with people over who owes who what, or what belongs to, which person, or who should give something back, or who should. These are the things that you guys are going to hear. And it's like you're going to lose if you're playing this game, because by the time the moon in the later, portion of today is squaring Uranus, it's also starting to build into a square with Mercury. And Mercury is in Scorpio, so it's about like truth and money and like resources. So if you're trying to like reconcile something with someone, or you're trying to kind of settle up with someone, the moon in a square to Mercury is also saying like you're going to have a difference of opinion, and you're going to have a bit of like a pinch, basically. So the fixed square is going to pretty much go all day today, unfortunately. All right, so now this is going to take us to Monday, and this will be the 6th. And we have a little bit of like a different vibe now. The Mercury square is going to play out between the moon and Mercury overnight, and we wake up in the morning and the moon is in the final degrees of Leo. Okay, so depending on, how you do with this square, you might be feeling some of the effects of what was going on Sunday, but the vibes change as soon as the moon goes into Virgo. So we're going to see the moon drop into Virgo, and we're going to see Venus in Virgo start trining Pluto. Now, this is the final aspect that Venus is going to be making while it's in Virgo. I like Venus trine Pluto, even if Venus is, technically in a sign that it's not comfortable. I think that when Venus trines Pluto, we have the opportunity to fuse the power of love and relationships and harmony, especially in Virgo. This can be about like appreciation or healing or cleansing of relationships. And Pluto can transmute something. So we have the ability to overcome a situation and heal it when it comes to relationships or resources. Now, still not crazy about that opposition to Neptune, because I feel like this is a lot of create a problem, but then here's a solution, and that the solution that comes might, be about giving your power away, or it might be about releasing something or someone. Depends on your personal astrology. But I think that it is powerful for love and for money. Now, I'm anticipating, now that Pluto is direct and this is happening at 28, there's going to be some discussion maybe about, budgeting, resources, money that's being utilized by like the health industry or by like governments, because, this is moving through earth signs and it's happening in a degree that deals with the homeland, property, anything in regards to maybe like taxes or, cost of home expenses. So watch for that. But it can also be about being able to recognize that, we can heal some of our relationship issues as long as we're willing to kind of go deep and clear something out. Now, Mercury is going to be coming into a trine today with Neptune. So Mercury still moving through Scorpio in a really psychic, intuitive sign. So this can be about going deep, listening to your intuition, doing research, trying to get to the truth of the matter. And when Mercury connects in a harmonious fashion with Neptune, this is going to be about leaning into our feelings, leaning into our intuition. But Neptune is also about empathy. It's about compassion. It's about releasing, letting go, dissolving something. So I do think it's encouraging us to focus on being more sympathetic and understanding, maybe even empathic. You guys might feel like your spidey senses are a little bit more in tune today, especially after the moon moves into Virgo. So as soon as that moon moves into Virgo in the afternoon, then we're picking up the energy of Mercury because, Mercury rules the moon. The only problem is that I feel like we have to read between the lines. Mercury trine Neptune is like, okay, if I didn't hear anything, I'm not saying anything. Or if my gut tells me, to do this, I'm going to do this. Or to make a move if I need to make a move. Not wild about the moon in opposition to Saturn, especially because the moon is how we emotionally relate. Through the sign of Virgo is about order and organization and health and wellness and being of service, and it needs to feel like it's doing something positive. Well, Mercury trine Neptune is a very mystical, spiritual energy. It's not very physical, right? Especially because this is a water trine. So where we're not always connecting emotionally or being able to talk about how we're feeling with moon in opposition to Saturn, we might just say, it's time to kind of like release this thing or, let something go. And it's probably about dealing with emotions where we can't find the words. I have found so many times when planets move through Virgo and they oppose Saturn and Pisces, it's like, I don't have the words. I just have to process the emotions and let something go. So you may be feeling like that on Monday. Not the best time with moon in opposition to Saturn to, not show up. Saturn is now direct. It's in Pisces. It's showing all of us where maybe there has been some delays. There has been some challenges. Maybe we have been feeling like we've also been self-sabotaging or ignoring or not taking care of something. So when the moon comes into Virgo, we're going to feel like, okay, we need to be busy. We need to have like a purpose. So what you want to be paying attention to is what's coming up for you psychically or intuitively. What's coming up for you emotionally? Where do you feel like it's just time to be like, I just have to let this thing go, Moon in opposition to Saturn is sometimes not getting the response that we want from someone. Sometimes it's about feeling like there's an emotional block or there is a disconnect. But you want to work with that trine to Neptune to be able to kind of dissolve that and let that through. Feeling a little emotionally detached and letting go seems to be the name of the game. So that's interesting that happens also right as Venus is trining Pluto. Some of us might feel like, to really love something or someone, we have to kind of release it and set it free this week. It's kind of the vibe that I'm getting with the transits. Equally the same day, You know, Mercury is going to quincunx or in conjunct the North Node. I'm working on a video right now for you guys on the like Mars, Uranus stuff and like the other placements in Scorpio. That's quite literally about getting sick of your own shit, like getting out of your own way. That's so much what about Scorpio season is going to be about. And I think that we may have an opportunity with the moon in Virgo to recognize, where is there this thing going on that's like actually not benefiting me? Like it's causing more problems. And instead of having the, you know, need to kind of fight or start like a tiff about it, because all these planets in Scorpio may want to do that, we're learning to be like, you know what, I'm not going to perpetuate the hostility or the anger or the agitation or the conflict. I'm going to release it. I'm going to dissolve that, right? I'm not going to absorb it. So important with all these planets in Pisces because it acts like a little sponge. All right, so now we're going to go into Tuesday. This is going to be the 7th. And we're waking up on the 7th and the moon is still in Virgo. But what's nice is we're starting to pick up here a little bit of a trine to Jupiter. So like in the Earth trine, I feel like moon trine Jupiter is about getting things done, feeling productive and feeling a little bit optimistic about maybe the choice that we made. If the moon opposed Saturn came up for you and brought some stuff up that you had to kind of detox from or clear or cut out, maybe this is where you're like, wow, I'm proud that I made the decision that was best for me. Or I'm optimistic about some of the changes that are kind of afoot right now. You will also see in the PM hours, eventually the moon will start coming into a sextile with all these planets in Scorpio. And where Virgo is about dealing with something, handling something, cleaning something up, being productive, Scorpio is, with all the stellium of planets in Scorpio, it's like purge, clear, burn, cut, remove, you know, like get to the bottom of something, take some kind of action to create change. This is the best thing that you guys are going to want to be doing this week, is figuring out, what am I clearing out? What am I cutting out as we're getting ready to come into the new moon in Scorpio? We will also see Venus hit 29 degrees today. So some of you guys might kind of feel, especially if you're ruled by Venus, so my Tauruses and my Libras, you know, just how intense Venus at 29 degrees is. I think for a lot of us, it may feel like there is a significant turning point that's going on with our relationship to other people. As I want to remind you guys, the South Node is ruled by Venus. So where Venus goes, it's having a huge kind of like effect on the South Node and what we're consciously cutting or clearing. So with Venus being 12th house to Libra, it's karmic matters. And with Venus, you know, coming into the same sign as Libra, there's going to be more of this kind of swapping energy. If you guys remember, I was talking about the Venus retrograde, how certain relationships would leave and certain people would come in, and how when planets conjunct the South Node in Libra, we're remembering the past and finally breaking free. Well, Venus is like, I think, like one of the better planets in astrology. It is next to Jupiter, you know, one of the most beneficial planets. It could mean that we've been in this season of clearing because we're getting ready to receive some kind of soul connection, some karmic goodies. We're maybe going to receive something back that was owed to us. Somebody or something may return. So you guys may realize that, you know, we had to kind of take out the trash, right, at the beginning of Scorpio season, in order to get into better balance or better harmony, or to let the right relationships in, to let the right partnerships in, to let the right friendships in. And likely it's things that better resonate with what it is that we need on a personal level. Anyway, so that 29 degrees, that's going to hang around most all of the day. That moon's going to keep moving through Virgo. We will eventually see right at the tail end of the evening sextiles to the sun and Mars. And overnight on Tuesday, we will start to see the moon trining Uranus and in conjuncting Chiron. So thankfully, we're gonna see the inconjuncts to Aries overnight, and then we're gonna wake up in the morning on the 8th with a moon trine Uranus. And this is about emotional changes, shifts in our habits and our daily routines. It can be how we're working, how we're eating, how we're treating our bodies, and those shifts that are kind of materializing. And we wake up on the 8th to Venus in Libra. So those of you guys who are Taurus or Libra risings are going to feel this shift because Venus is your chart ruler. It's going to be probably one of the better energies that you have felt in some time. You know, like I said, thinking back to the last couple of months, a really long Venus retrograde in Leo, you know, square, all of these placements made it really challenging to kind of pick a lane in relationships, financial situations, values, you know, aesthetic things. And now we're wrapping up with Venus in Virgo. This is a well-welcomed change as far as I'm concerned. So those of you guys who are Taurus risings, you're probably going to find that there's just going to be more focus and emphasis on, you know, health habits, daily routines. Libra risings, it's going to be about your appearance, your physical connection to your body, maybe a little bit more of like a pleasant time. If you happen to have any personal planets in Libra and you're having Venus transit, that's also going to be a little bit sweeter for you as well. Now, we will also see Mercury in Scorpio start sextiling Pluto. Okay, so that's about tapping in to, I think, like intuitive, like undercurrents of power. This can be, once again, great for research. I think of like Mercury in Scorpio and the sextile to Pluto is being able to pick up on patterns or control or habits or things that you need to complete or get done or that you need to be working on. I like this energy because I feel like it's giving Mercury an opportunity to get some insight into what is about to change in the Capricorn area of your life. We're getting ready to see Pluto go back into Aquarius here soon in just a few short months. So that sextile to Pluto is like, okay, I'm aware that I need to finish this thing up before I move into Pluto in Aquarius. It also is easier for communication. So if you guys are looking for an easier communication day, you know, I think on the 8th with the moon sextile Mercury and Mercury sextile Pluto, this is my select day for the entire week to sign contracts, plan business stuff, to have meetings, to travel. And this is one of the nicer aspects we're going to see between you know, Mercury and another planet for some time. As soon as Mercury goes into Sag, technically it's moving into its fall, so it has like a more challenging energy to kind of work with, and it'll immediately come into a square with Saturn. So save the 8th Wednesday for all of your communication, planning, you know, kind of needs. But feel tapped in with this. I love this for like strategizing and like agreements. I think that's really wonderful for business. And then finally, at the end of the day, we will see the, like I said, the moon trine Uranus, and then the moon will start coming into an opposition with Neptune. So if you guys remember, you know, a day or two earlier when the moon was in opposition to Saturn, where we felt restricted, now we're going to feel the moon in opposition to Neptune, where we're going to be like, okay, you know, instead of slacking or letting something go or not taking action, through the productivity that we've done the last couple of days at the moon in Virgo, and also the ability to physically create change, learn more about our values, our laws, our resources, our systems, now we're feeling a little bit more like capable. So there's a really nice earth trine also involving the moon on the 8th. And, you know, when you have that, we get more things done. We're able to kind of complete more. There's a sweet spot midday right before the moon starts coming into an opposition with Neptune that I would really utilize, because in the late afternoon, the moon will oppose Neptune and it feels like a blind spot. So that's going to pretty much be all of the 8th. And then we're going to go into the 9th, which is going to be Thursday. And as we're waking up in the morning, I love that right around the time Venus moves into Libra, we have a moon connection. Really sweet. I think that waking up with Venus in Libra, moon conjunct Libra, feeling lovely, receptive, you know, really wanting to be in connection and harmony with other people, focusing more on relationships. So it's like, this is the day that I think people are going to be like, oh, I feel the shift, you know? So we've got the moon and Venus in the same sign, Venus in its ruling sign, Mars in its ruling sign. It's almost like there is more harmony with masculine and feminine energies. Things are kind of settling out a little bit better. Likely this might be a morning where you're waking up and you're like, I just really want to call this person, or I'm really wanting to reach for some sweet treats, or I'm just really craving intimacy or relationship with another person. It's showing you where you can connect with somebody else if necessary. The only thing that I'd watch for is the in conjunct or the quincunx to Saturn. You know, the timing may be off in some way, or maybe there's a sense of being like, I want this, but I'm practicing restraint, or I want to connect with this person, but I got to call them later. So there may be a little bit of like feeling like at a crossroads with some of that stuff, still with patterns or habits maybe. This will be Thursday morning. And we're coming into like the dark moon. So the moon's not really going to be aspected much beyond this. We will see as the moon continues to keep going through Libra throughout all of Thursday. It's not really going to be doing much here, even going into the PM hours. Nope. So pretty unaspected moon. So watch for that, because if you're trying to do anything really important, other than the conjunction to the moon in the morning, this is like a you know, kind of like a day where I'm not going to say we're not going to get much done, but yeah, you want to see aspects with the moon if you're going to be trying to make commitments to things. So then the moon's going to stay in Libra. This is going to be on the 9th. And then overnight, early morning on the 10th, so we're going to wake up on Friday the 10th, and Mercury is in Sagittarius, okay? So this is big. So Mercury's in Sag as we wake up in the morning. The moon is in Libra. And Venus is still like harmonizing. It's doing its thing. But here's the thing. The moon's going to first oppose Chiron. So there is potentially going to be this energy of hurtful words, you know, feeling like maybe limitation or separation from support. Maybe other people are coming in, trying to push us out of our comfort zone, trying to connect with us, and we're more aware of our wounds or our flaws. But I think that Venus being in the sign of Libra is almost like, we get that reassurance from someone. We get someone who's like, no, you are good enough, or you are loved, or you are supported, or do you want to talk about it, or how can I help you? When this comes through on the 10th, it's important to really be aware of who is capable of being able to kind of help, you know, lend a helping hand. I also think that, you know, Mercury moving into Sagittarius, moving into the sign of its fall, could be tall tales. It is possible. There can be a sense of sometimes there being some exaggeration with this placement. Whenever a planet is at 0 degrees, it's also the purest form. So I'm expecting to hear some pretty significant things in the media, especially relating to travel, education, culture, philosophy. And what's interesting is this is the first planet to enter into Sagittarius before Mars and the Sun show up. Now, Mercury in Sag, the positive is that it is optimistic. It is very wanderlust. It does want to learn more about other cultures and belief systems. It is open-minded, but it's also kind of slinging from the hip. It's opinionated. It has a tendency to not always check all of its references, or its, you know, do its background research before saying something or citing something. This is a placement that also really likes to kind of get on its soapbox, and it likes to kind of like preach. But the square to Saturn for me is really what's going to do it, where, you know, Mercury is in superior position. So the positive is that Mercury is kind of checking Saturn, where it's saying like, okay, there's some information coming in through Sagittarius that's being expressed in a really open, opinionated manner. And it may seem outrageous, but really it's checking Saturn. It's basically saying, you know, are you doing your Saturn work, or are you as responsible in this area as you say that you are? Anyway, not my favorite for communication, not my favorite for travel. So there can be, you know, communication issues, there can be misunderstandings, there can be travel delays. There's most likely also going to be more talk about global censorship, and, you know, especially when it comes to open discussions or open forums. When it comes to politics, religion, culture, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about limitations and things that are not being reported on, or that are being kind of swept under the rug or hidden, right, with Saturn and Pisces. All right, so something else we're going to see is when this happens, it kind of goes hand in hand with the moon in opposition to Mercury, with the moon in opposition to Chiron. So, you know, if there is some kind of relationship breakdown or misunderstanding, or maybe somebody changes their mind, or they don't know how to respond, especially as the moon's approaching the south node, there is a tendency to feel like we're losing our mind, or emotionally we're all over the place, or we're feeling a little
I don't know, like moon opposed, like moon conjunct south node for me feels like somebody who doesn't know how to emotionally show up. And maybe some of you guys have that, or you've experienced that in your progress chart. We might look around and be like, well, why aren't we getting the support that we need, right? Or they're giving me feedback, but it's not the feedback that I wanted, Mercury square Saturn. So that can be bringing up some wounding, but I do feel like this is also about where we're learning to kind of go, we don't need to seek validation from other people, that we can't be basing our self-worth or feeling like we need to be accepted by other people in order to move forward. But yeah, communication, relationship things can come up. The right people will show up though, because like I said, Venus is in Libra. So if you do need the support of a friend or a counselor or a family member or a partner, the right people will be there if you need it, especially with Mercury sextile Venus. I think that lends the opportunity for us to open the door and go, how can I learn more from this experience? Or what am I learning about this issue maybe that I'm having in a relationship or a friendship? What is it teaching me? And Mercury square Saturn can also be, especially at 0 degrees, people not relating and like breakdown in relationships as a result of people learning not to sit down and settle their differences. It's like when people get upset, I'll never understand why when people get into conflicts or argument, instead of talking it out or agreeing to disagree or, being the bigger person and apologizing and being like, how can we fix this? When people shut down and they block the other person, right? I've seen this a lot with clients, and I've seen this like with people personally in recent years, where it's just, instead of sitting down and being like, let's find a way to work through this because we value the relationship or the friendship or what have you, somebody will just block the other person. You may see some of this stuff going on with this particular square. And I do think that that's going to be highlighting where in some relationships, some people quite literally do not know how to sit down and mediate. They don't know how to work through problems. And perhaps maybe as a society, we're going to start to see where relationships are eroding because people aren't really willing to do the work. But here's where the beauty of Venus really lies, where it's saying the ones who really value relationships will do the work. The people who need to come in and mediate or counsel or assist you will show up. So if you're somebody who's looking for a counselor, a therapist, you're looking for a lawyer, you're looking for a mediator, maybe you're looking for a stylist, somebody who can come in, who can help you kind of bridge the gap in what you're feeling like you're lacking, those people will be here. All right, so then we're going to see throughout the entire day, the moon will continue through Libra. Mercury will still square Saturn, so you're going to feel most of this all day, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, into the evening, we begin to see in the late evening the moon conjunct the south node. So remember that the nodes are related to the moon, so it's about our collective moods. If the moon's in Libra, we're feeling relationship, partnership, and harmony. However, the moon conjunct the south node is basically saying, okay, you know what, we're going to scrap it, or we're not connecting, or this isn't working. But Venus is there, so it might mean with that conjunction at 24, some relationships are dissolving, or we're feeling like some people are disappearing or they're checking out. But at the time of this particular conjunction, Venus is at a 3, which is saying when in doubt, talk it out, send an email, send a text, try to communicate, reach out, don't just let things kind of dissolve. Probably also, as we're getting into the 11th, finally when Mercury's moving out of the square with Saturn, the 11th might be a better day to kind of hash some of this stuff out and smooth it over. Except for the fact that on November 11th, we are going to see some pretty intense astrology. So mark your guys' calendars for 11/11. Listen, I get it. Master numbers, right? Everybody's really big into like the 11/11. And they say like, oh, it's like a portal, kind of like Lionsgate. I do think that there is something to the numbers. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that day being a really significant or important day, personally. You might not agree with that, but I feel like the astrology that's going to be happening on this particular day, really through the 13th, is quite intense. It feels very eruptive to me. So just make a mental note that the 11th through the 13th gets a little tense. If you guys saw my new moon in Scorpio video, you know what I'm talking about. If you guys saw my Mars in Scorpio video, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll reiterate this again for you guys this week. So one thing that we're going to see right as we're getting ready to see the moon go into Scorpio is the last aspect the moon is going to make is a square to Pluto. So first thing in the morning, November 11th, moon squares Pluto. It's like, oh, when it comes to relationships and emotions, we're under pressure for work, responsibility, getting things done, long-standing, struggles or maybe challenges in power. It is what it is. It's a closing square and we're coming into the dark moon. So in my mind, November 11th, November 12th, these are the days where you want to sit down and go, what is my list of things that I'm cutting out? What are the list of things that are frustrating me? Where am I getting agitated? Where do I need to kind of cut this or let that go or, terminate that friendship or get out of this bad habit? Work with the dark moon to literally banish stuff out. And what you may be clearing out could be relationship stuff. Now, when the moon comes out of that square in the morning and then enters into Scorpio in the afternoon on the 11th, the moon will then be in Scorpio. So we're coming into the new moon in Scorpio vibes. We've got a stellium of planets in Scorpio, also involving Mars, which is the ruler. Now, within this particular day, there's so much stuff going on. We see Mars also coming into an opposition with Uranus. That's going to happen right around the time of the new moon. For me, this is a boiling point. Now remember, Mars rules the North Node. So the North Node in Aries is where we are going on an instinctual, individual direction, right? How we are evolving, how we are taking charge, taking action, initiating new things, being more self-sufficient, being more independent, and also being able to stand up for ourselves. So when Mars goes through the various signs, it's going to show us and express in a certain way where we're taking action. Well, Mars is well in Scorpio. It's one of the rulers. It's a traditional ruler of Scorpio. And it's 8 houses away from Aries, which means it's secretive, hidden, intense, passionate, sexual. It's about dealing with taboo, discreet, sometimes dangerous, sometimes criminal related things. But Scorpio gets a bad rap. But I think that this is really about coming into this new moon with Mars, actually being about change, right? This is the season of change generally when we get into Scorpio season. But with the new moon conjunct Mars, it's not, okay, I'll get to it later. It's, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing this right now. This is what steps I'm taking actively right now to take action. But with Mars in opposition to Uranus, it means that there will be sudden, unexpected events outside of ourselves that will trigger us. Mars can be hot, it can be sharp, it can be fire, it can be conflict. Scorpio can be talking about things that happen discreetly or secretively. We're going to hear a lot about crime. We're going to hear a lot about more of these smash and grab type situations because Uranus deals with physical possessions. We're going to hear a lot more about how everybody is getting really heated about insurance matters, tax matters, matters revolving around also death and grief and loss. And Mars can also be about frustration. So to have, the moon in Scorpio where, it's moving through a part of the skies that it's really difficult to express its emotions in conjunction with the new moon, right? The sun, it's creating this seed of intention that's like, I'm so agitated, I'm so upset, I'm so sick of this thing, I'm so motivated, I'm so passionate, I'm so obsessed, I'm so fixated that this is where I'm taking action. The problem is that this will all oppose Uranus. So when I said to you guys, angry mob mentality about people going, where's my money? Watch what happens in this next week if people still can't get their deposits. Watch what happens in this next week when some people are finding out also, maybe new laws that are coming in about transactions or maybe cryptocurrency or some new tax stuff that's coming up, because these are all Uranus and Taurus themes, and you're going to see some people that get triggered over the next month. A new moon takes 6 months to turn into a full moon. So you're going to see in 2024, we'll have a full moon in Scorpio. And I think that's going to be, I don't remember when it is, but it's around 4 degrees of Scorpio. But a new moon takes about 28 days to come into effect. So we're going to see from the new moon until the next new moon, which will be in Sagittarius, that it's like all month long, cause and effect between the oppositions with Mars and Uranus. Now, this can also mean that there are sudden explosive situations that, come about. Another example, if you guys heard, Sam Bankman-Fried getting charged or being announced, I guess, like guilty for the FTX stuff. From what I understand, he's not going to be, given his, what is it? Like he's been tried, but he's not going to be given his terms until like next year. But this is quite literally a lot of that, where you're having, some younger person, Mars, a man, maybe somebody who committed some kind of financial crime, and how it had an impact on banks and resources and also our money. A lot of people haven't put two and two together yet. Maybe you hear about it and you're like, yeah, whatever, that guy stole money. But what you don't realize is that he was, I think, the number 2 top donator to the Democratic Party. Now, I'm not politicking, but he was. So if you're somebody who donated to that or funds went into that, that money was then given to, Biden. And now you've got a situation where it's like, where you had politicians on both sides that were investing in FTX, and then FTX falls, and then where did the money go, right? So there is going to be more that we're going to be hearing, I think, throughout really the next month with some of these oppositions. And what you're going to want to find is that, you have to pay more attention to what's going on in your immediate life, not getting kind of affected by everybody else's drama, not getting sucked into the angry mob mentality. And oppositions are relational. So there's going to be situations where other people are just going to kind of trigger us this particular week. And it's about what we are personally changing and getting out of our own way, and not being afraid to cut something off or someone off. We will also see, I think, this major purge that's going to be happening midday on the 11th. And that's going to be when the moon is getting further into Scorpio. At least it trines Saturn. I guess I should say that. That's the positive, right? At least it trines Saturn. But even Saturn's direct, so it's like, no, it's time to let this thing go, or it's time to accept, the fate, or it's time to be more responsible. These are water signs, water houses. So whenever we're seeing like Cancer or the moon or Scorpio or Pisces, in getting involved, it's about healing something, releasing something. These can also be seen in traditional astrology as terminal signs, where Cancer was about burial and Scorpio was about death, and Pisces is about regeneration. So there's a lot of themes of like what is dying off, clearing out that's coming up, but also it's about, well, what have we learned from this? And, do we carry that anger and that hostility with us, or do we learn to kind of meditate on it, transmute it, and let it go? It's going to be really hard to not carry around our reactions this week. And, that has a major effect on our physical body. That really triggers, especially with Jupiter and Uranus, fluctuations with us emotionally, physically, and it can create a lot of strife. And I would just really recommend trying to ground yourself throughout this opposition, because tempers are going to be at all-time highs. We will also see, like I said, that purge. So I think right around the time the moon is, this will be on the 12th. This is Sunday. So next Sunday. So you're waking up on Sunday in the morning. When I say the purge, that clearing out really is going to be Sunday morning. Okay. So my advice is, if you're somebody who's like, oh, I like to celebrate the new or the full moons, get up next Sunday, and maybe come back to this video and reference this and listen to it. But get up in the morning and sit down. And if you have grievances, if you have frustrations, if you have something you're afraid of, if you have something you're trying to work through, but you don't know how to work through it, sit down, write it out. Then what I want you to do is meditate with it and try to figure out how you can, transform it, how you can release it, how you can clear it out. And I would say either put that piece of paper in a bowl of water, maybe with some crystals, and let it dissolve. And I say that because of the trines to Neptune. Or you can take a match, take a lighter, obviously be careful, burn that list and let it go. And I would do it right before the new moon, okay? The new moon's actually going to be on the 13th, but you want to do this on the 12th and work with the energy of purging and clearing something out. Now, the new moon in itself is also going to be at a 20 degree. Now, this won't come until, Monday, but for what it's worth, this will be the degree that the new moon's at, which is 20, which equals Scorpio. Right after that new moon, the moon's going to come in conjunction with Mars. So this isn't a new moon that's like, I put out my intentions and I just hope for the best. No. It's basically saying on the 13th, right after that new moon, it's like it starts now. And if you guys really work with the intentions, you take some kind of action, you commit to making a change, look at the Scorpio area of your chart, you will be able to transmute something and clear something out to get more so in tune with your North Node. So you're going to have to look at where Scorpio is in your chart, Mars is the ruler, and then look at Aries, because the new moon and also the Sun transit, the Mars transit are all quincunx the North Node. So it's basically saying, you know, the 12th, the 13th of November, there's something going on that we quite literally have to acknowledge. There is an agitation, a fight, a conflict, a frustration that is really highlighting what needs to come into our awareness so that we can kind of deal with it, clear it out, and get more in tune with our North Node. So I think with Mars in this quincunx, it's like something needs to change, and I don't feel like we're just gonna skate by and not see it. I think you're gonna see the Mars energy in some way. Now, obviously, this is going a little bit into next week, but just to show you guys what I'm talking about, like the Moon-Mars connection will be, you know, the evening, Monday evening. So that's going to be even more, especially with the oppositions to Uranus. Excuse me, Monday morning. This is Monday morning. And then we're going to see the Sun come into an opposition on the 14th. So I'll save this for some of my other videos, but just to kind of give you guys some food for thought into how to navigate on Sunday. Sunday is kind of make a list of everything that you want to clear, burn your bridges, do what you got to do, set the intentions to start over on the 13th. Okay, so with that being said, I would like to take you guys through Venus through the 12 signs because I think we need some good news, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm optimistic and I'm putting way too much faith in Venus, but I'm hoping that she can come through and help us through some of these things, especially knowing that eventually she's going to make that contact with the South Node. When is that going to be? So yeah, right around the end of November. It looks like that's going to be around the 29th and 30th. And that, for some of you guys, may be the finale. That's like, okay, now I'm really breaking off from this person or this thing. I'm not sure. But I do feel like it's going to help us kind of navigate some of this stuff and be a little bit more so diplomatic. So let me know how you guys are feeling with it. As always, I am a Western astrologer, so I practice Western astrology. I'm going to take you guys through Venus through the 12 signs for the rising signs. Obviously, this is going to affect my Taurus and Libra risings the most because you guys are ruled by Venus. But if you have any personal planets in the sign of Libra, know that Venus is going to come into contact with that. She's going to bring you a little bit of sweetness, okay? So I will start with my Aries and Aries risings. So let me pull that up for you guys. All right, so for my Aries and Aries risings, you guys are going to be having Venus transiting Libra, and it will be entering into your 7th house. Now, Venus traditionally rules your 2nd house of money and resources, as well as your 7th house of relationships. Now, Venus moving through the 7th house, essentially relationships are going to take center stage. I do feel like you're going to be focusing on creating more harmonious partnerships. It is a favorable time for love, marriage, and relationships and strengthening existing bonds. But also, it's about kind of getting clear with your values and your resources, what's important to you when it comes to relationships. Remember that Taurus is your 2nd house, so it's what you possess. So there can be a sense of having or experiencing more generosity within relationships. People can be more giving with you. And it might also be where you're meeting other people. So it's a really strong time if you're single to get out and meet others. I also feel like it's really great for gift giving. It's really great for getting on the same page financially with people. Obviously, I know there's a lot of energy right now in your 8th and in your 2nd house. And Mars in the 8th house is really focusing on, kind of standing up and going after what's owed to you. And the oppositions to the 2nd house can represent sudden, unexpected kind of turns of fate with your resources. So Venus moving through the 7th house is great to bring in somebody who's going to be, fair and balanced with you when it comes to some of these financial matters. It might be a time where you meet a counselor or a therapist. Maybe you're meeting a financial advisor. Maybe you're meeting with an attorney over like a legal matter. So it will be benefiting you and supporting you at this time, okay? Let's see what the tarot says for you, Aries. The card that I get is the Nine of Swords, which I'm going to say I'm not surprised because we're going to have this new moon that's going to be in direct opposition to Uranus. So there can be some shocks and surprises, or maybe some stress in regards to what changes are happening in relationships, how that impacts you financially or emotionally. My advice is let go of things that you cannot control. When this card comes up, it's about sometimes stressing out over things that you have no control over, and just having to learn to kind of let things be and letting the chips fall as they may, and then making a decision moving forward. Remember, Mars in the 8th house is very strong, and we're getting ready to see Mars and the Sun come into conjunction. So there is a sense of there being some kind of renewal when it comes to resources. I just think the goal here really is about really focusing on what's best for you and looking out for your own, and not stressing out over what other people are kind of, how other people are like stirring the pot. Good luck. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. How's it going, Taurus? This is important for you because Venus rules your chart, and you've got Venus moving into Libra, and it's going through your 6th house of health, habits, and daily routine. Venus also rules your 1st house of self and body. So it's interesting that the 1st house is about physical appearance and how you're kind of feeling in your body, and then the 6th house represents habits. You just recently had an eclipse here, and you also recently had an eclipse here. So a lot of this can be about some changes that are going on with your health and your habits, your daily routine, where you're working, or your appearance. But Venus in the 6th house is about finding more ways to bring beauty and harmony into your daily routines and your work environment. It's a good time to start focusing on self-care and improving your health. Maybe if you've seen that there's been some challenges or some upheavals with your schedule, your habits, or your routine, now it's like something is kind of, finally kind of getting more so balanced, right? We always seem to forget that Libra is the scales. It can also mean that you're finding yourself in 6th house places. So you're decorating an office, maybe you're going to a gym, maybe you're going to a cosmetic spa. There can be a sense of like connecting with practitioners or people who can kind of help assist you when it comes to your health and wellness. One thing I would say is that Venus does not always do so well in the 6th house, even in spite of it being in a positive sign. This can represent where there are more imbalances coming up in relationships. And I don't know if this is about the relationship to yourself, or if this is about not always getting what you need from partners. Obviously, there's a lot of energy in your 7th house making oppositions to all of this Taurus in your 1st house. So you may be feeling more inclined to air out some of the challenges that you're having in relationships. There might be a need for you to be more supportive of partners than usual, right? With Venus going through the 6th house, helping and assisting them if they're going through some challenging times. Healing is a big one. I think of a number of Taurus risings that I know that are finally like recovering from, from injuries or from illness. And so this can be an indication that that is definitely happening. The card that you get is the Justice card, which, I got to be honest with you. I mean, I think of, relationships are huge right now. This is generally a card that's about Libra, but it's also about the 7th house. And you've got Mercury, Sun, and Mars in the 7th house, which means you're going to have some very strongly self-focused, opinionated people that you're going to be dealing with. So if you are partnered Taurus, you're going to be just noticing just partners being really adamant about what they want. There can be a bit of a showdown in this next week or so with the oppositions in your sign. But Libra is about finding the balance, right? And it's about being able to be like, okay, we're not always going to be 100%. There are going to be some days where you can show up more and the other person can't. And you guys you support each other and you help each other along the way. Whether that's a friendship, a relationship, it's a professional partnership, it doesn't matter. This is about somebody having your back. And so I think that, to be fair, it is possible that you're going to have some people that are going to be in your life that are going through some kind of crisis, or they're having some challenges, and it might really be reinforcing the fact that, you win some, you lose some. Maybe right now you're not feeling like you get what you want, but it's really reiterating, hey, you need to be of service to someone or something right now. Help them out if you can. find the balance in your relationships, and really try to see that, you know, it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. That's definitely what we see generally when Venus goes through the 6th house. Good luck. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's going on, guys? You're going to be experiencing Venus entering into Libra. It'll be moving through your 5th house, and it'll be in a fellow sister sign. So those of you guys who are Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you'll be experiencing trines, which is considered to be pretty harmonious with that aspect. Now, when Venus goes through the 5th house, there is a focus on romance, creativity, self-expression. This will all be highlighted during this transit. It's a great time for dating and artistic endeavors and enjoying the pleasures of life. Now, what's interesting is that Venus doesn't just rule the 5th house, it also rules the 12th house. So creative, expression, talent coming out, unexpected surprises relating to love and children and creativity and self-expression. I do feel like it could be things that are also playing out behind the scenes, like romantic getaways. It can be about learning more about your spiritual beliefs and expressing that in artistic ways. This can also be about higher education and learning of, artistic practices. So, arts and ways to be able to, kind of design and show things. Especially I think of like film or design or like video, because that's very like Taurus in the 12th house. So maybe that might be one of the ways that this plays out. But, Venus through the 5th is generally, if you're single, it can be a good time to meet somebody. There can definitely be a lot more opportunity to get out and socialize. I especially think of Mercury changing signs this week and going into your 7th house. So you may find yourself connecting with other people, socializing more, meeting people, going on dates, being with your partner. And that's going to come into a sextile with Venus. So relationship, communication, and harmony, and kind of balance really, kind of comes together, which I think is going to be nice because, the squares between Mercury and Saturn might feel a little challenging. So it's about being able to find the time to kind of connect with another person and having time to play. The card that I get for you is the Page of Swords, which is cool because that could quite literally be you as a Gemini, but also it could be a Libra or an Aquarius as well. And this is also about children, youth, playfulness and communication, creative writing, sharing ideas, news coming, messages coming in some way, shape, or form. I wonder what's going to happen when the moon conjuncts Venus and it sextiles Mercury. So there might be a sense of having more romantic chit chat and communication with someone, but this can also be about just starting or initiating, learning a new way to communicate or connect with someone. Maybe you're just getting to know someone. Maybe you're looking, to like date in a different way. So you're still kind of getting your feet wet, I guess, in this situation. But for the most part, I feel like it's about learning how to communicate in a more playful, fun manner. And look for communication in regards to these themes. It might be like invitations and things as well that are kind of coming up. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's going on, guys? You're going to be experiencing Venus moving through Libra in your natal 4th house of home and family. And Venus also has connections to your 11th house of goals, friends, and associations. Now, Venus going through the 4th house can bring harmony and beauty into your home and family life. You may be more focused on creating a peaceful and aesthetically pleasing environment within your home. This is wonderful for like interior design, buying new furniture, putting some art out. A female relative or friend may come and visit or stay with you. That might be the case because of Venus's connection to the 11th. It may also mean that, you're looking for a new home, or you're focusing on your relationships with family members or your past and goals because of Venus's connection to the 11th house. So there might be social gatherings and get-togethers at home. You might be inviting people into your space and be focusing on entertaining here pretty soon as well. If you're somebody who has been looking to kind of like decorate for the holidays or, kind of get things ready for your family or making plans with groups of people, this might be a time that you start doing that as well. The one thing to take into consideration is that Venus is also moving through a cardinal house. So depending on what sign you have or what degree you have on the ascendant. As Venus starts coming into a square, it's just going to be bringing up more of those home-related themes because Cancer traditionally connects to the 4th house or the moon. So you may find that there is more of a need to be more at home, connected to home, talking to family, focusing on family relationships. And I would recommend for all of the signs, but especially for the cardinal signs, to watch my incoming Venus and Libra video, because I'm going to talk about how the oppositions to Chiron are definitely going to bring up something that needs to be healed. Okay? Good luck. Let's pull your card. Let's not forget your card. All right, Cancer, let's see what your tarot is for this transit. Oh, I love this. 6 of Cups. I like that because, the 4th house is the past. So I think that there can be a sense of like maybe if there's been some challenges in regards to relationships with relatives or roommates, or maybe there's been some people that you've been wanting to connect with and you haven't had the chance, you're able to reconnect. You're able to reflect on sweeter times and when things were more harmonious. This is also the card that comes up a lot for like, soul connections, soulmate connections. And I don't think this is limited just in a romantic way. I think that in the 4th house, it can be like connecting with your tribe, connecting with your soul family, people coming back who are here to kind of help you through either emotional, home, or family matters. Okay? Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You will be experiencing Venus transiting the 3rd house in Libra. And this is going to be a cool transit for you guys. So this is going to be putting an emphasis on communication, social interactions throughout this transit. You may find it easier to express your thoughts and feelings, usually with more grace and charm, making it great for socializing and for networking. Now, Venus is connected to your 3rd house, but also your 10th house. So contracts, negotiations, especially if you have like a local business, maybe you work in transportation, maybe you work in media, or you work in education. It might make it easier also for relations with people at work. So communicating, negotiating terms, contracts, gigs, that's going to be a little bit smoother. In Libra, naturally sextiles your sign, so I do feel like it is positive and it is really kind of lending to your leadership qualities. I think that this is helpful if you're looking to move, or if you're looking to find a new place, or if you're looking to find a new vehicle. Just recently had a number of planets enter into your 4th house, so some of you guys may be moving or experiencing changes within the home or family. Really, Venus in the 3rd house is about sweet communication. It's finding the right words, taking your time, being a team player and communicating, reaching out to people, and really favorable relationships that might be kind of coming through a sibling or a neighbor. Like if there is some drama going on in the family, is it possible that like a sibling becomes like a mediator? Is it possible that, they step in and try to say, hey, do you want me to talk to mom or dad? Or, I'll take you with me to the party so that way we can kind of all sit down and like talk about something. So they could actually be the mediators that are necessary throughout this particular transit. I know the oppositions between Scorpio and Taurus are a little challenging, but really the key here is to just focus on trying to be a team player and being diplomatic in your communication. And network like the cows are coming home. That's my advice, because there is so much opportunity with your 10th house Lord being in the 3rd, especially if you need to work on websites or media or design. You need to create pamphlets, business cards, like if you need to travel to, communicate with other people or to meet with other people, especially for professional reasons, that's also a favorable time. Let's take a look and see what the cards say. The card that I get for you is the World card, which is actually really cool because I think about how Venus is going to come into conjunction with the South Node, and that may represent towards the end of the month, like getting some kind of karmic reward. You might get some kind of goodie. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that means you're going to get like an excellent review, or somebody is going to speak highly of you or refer you to somebody else. I don't know if this means that, you are completing a major lesson or a cycle, especially within the 3rd house. South Node in Libra is having the ability to let go maybe of being indecisive and learning to tap more into this North Node in Aries, which is like, okay, I'm not going to be indecisive about a living situation. I'm just going to, make a decision and move on it. So I think that this is going to be more about you recognizing where you're releasing old indecisive patterns, and it's possible certain karmic rewards might be kind of coming up for you in the weeks ahead. So good for you, Leo. I'm glad to hear that you have some support this month. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. So for you, you're going to have Venus going through the second house. Nice. And Venus has connections to your second house, and it also has connections to your ninth house, Taurus. This is well welcomed after like a solar eclipse here, and Venus does very well, not just in Libra, but also in the second house. So this is really positive and strong for like money, finances, and resources. With Venus moving through the second house, you're more inclined to spend money on luxury items and beautifying your surroundings. This transit can also improve your financial situation or bring opportunity for financial gain. Now, I think that this gain may come through both second or ninth house matters. So things that you personally buy that you may like resell or, export. That can be one way of looking at it. Especially like import and export of like luxury goods or jewelry or crystals or stones because of the connection to Taurus. You may be more willing to spend on luxury travel or education or something involving like learning or maybe some kind of retreat work because Jupiter and Uranus is in your ninth. But you've already had a ton of planets come through your second house. So I wonder, like, has the last couple of months been about making money? Are you finally feeling like you're paying things off and you have a little bit more leeway with your spending, perhaps? But it can also be about purchasing something nice for you. But I think it's going to be something that's going to be either travel or education related personally. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you had that solar eclipse there in the South Node. So I know a lot of, Virgo risings that have lost a sense of income, or, they had to cut something off, or they couldn't spend as much money on something. So this can be an indication that something is coming in to replace that. So if you've been feeling like there was a loss, there may actually be a gain that's now getting ready to come for you. So you'll realize why something was turned loose, because something better is arriving. The card that I got for you is the Devil, which is interesting because, Venus, as it moves into Libra, is going to immediately start in conjuncting Saturn, which could be the Devil. But this is also maybe about addressing habits in regards to what you're consuming, what you are possessing, what you're focusing in a sense of values. I think of like the eclipses and the transits here where some of you guys have lost something, given it away, sold it. You've had to deal with like some really pressing financial matters. And it's made you realize about your relationship to material things, or where there can be an obsession or a fixation with something. So I think this card is basically saying, don't get sucked in or tempted to fall back into these old patterns. If you had to, curb the spending or learn to like let something go or stop consuming something, it's about not falling back into that pattern of that, because the Devil likes to kind of keep us trapped in a situation. The North Node in Aries in your 8th house is about learning to receive more, change and transform something about your joint resources. I could definitely see some of you guys willing to kind of part ways with something, or sell something, or maybe merge with another person as a means of bringing in more resources for you in the future. So some of that Venus in the second can come from, believe it or not, some support from someone else. But the question is, does it have strings attached? Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You will be experiencing Venus moving into your sign. This will be crossing your ascendant if you're a Libra rising. So this is really good for your physical appearance. It's going to be also really great for charm, personal kind of style, your relationship to yourself, but also other people. Great time to be really focusing on aesthetics and your appearance. There can be some grand reveal, right? Because you've had so many planets in your 12th house recently in a retrograde. There might be some significant change to your appearance. Now, Venus is also connected to your 8th house of joint resources and other people's money. So the 8th house is about change. Now, when you have this particular transit, this is about embracing your personal charm and attractiveness. So it can make you more appealing to others. But also I think it's a time to focus on self-love and expression through beauty and style. Maybe snap a picture of yourself, especially like around the 9th as the moon comes into conjunction with Venus. Yes, it's in conjunct Saturn, but I think some of you guys might be looking at, yourself in a mirror, right? Libra can be a mirror. You're reflecting on, the state of how you look, and you can be very critical of yourself right now at the in conjunction to Saturn. So just be mindful that if you see something you don't like or you see something that you want to change, it's about coming up with an action plan for making some of those changes. For some, it's as simple as like, trimming bangs or making some adjustments to maybe the color palettes that you're wearing or the cosmetics that you're using. For others, it can mean, okay, I got to get the show on the road and, be making sure that I'm getting better sleep so I'm feeling like I'm looking better, Saturn and Pisces, or I'm taking the time to make sure that I'm working out and taking care of myself or doing the things to kind of feel good. And that's really tapping into that energy also of the 8th house, which is all about change and transformation. So you're changing the relationship with yourself. Take note of what happens on the 9th and really focus on being compassionate with yourself right now, giving yourself a lot of support. The card that I get for you is the 9 of Cups. What a great card. This is really about having your wishes like met or fulfilled. This is whatever you're asking for, what you will receive. Nothing sweeter than Venus and the moon in your sign, but I do think it's about what you're giving to yourself. I think about this stellium of planets in the 2nd house, which can talk about excess and spending and finances and resources, and there can be like a sense of you investing in something or taking an opportunity to make more. But really, I think it starts with investing with yourself. And that stellium of planets in the 2nd house is all about how you feel about yourself, not just what you're doing with your money, but your self-esteem. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You will be experiencing Venus going into Libra. This will be moving into your 12th house, which is hidden and subconscious. This is a transit that may bring hidden or unexpected feelings to the surface. You may feel like it's a time for inner reflection and self-care, and you may find beauty in solitude or spiritual pursuits. Now, Venus traditionally rules your 12th house, and it also has connections to your 7th house of relationships and other people. So Scorpio, having Venus in the 12th house can be interesting because it can be great for romance and intimacy behind the scenes and having private time with another person. But I also feel like it's more than that. Something about pillow talk and dreams and subconscious thoughts and like connections with other people really seem to kind of be like the forefront of the Venus transit. It can be about secret admirers, hidden emotion, or financial situations that are emerging. But I also think that this is really painting more of a picture about what's going on with the planets in your 1st and in your 7th house. Venus rules your 7th house of others. So those of you guys who are single, there can be secret admirers or connections with people in foreign lands. But this can also indicate, traveling with a partner, going away, having a hidden kind of romantic time. It can also be a time where you're contemplating or considering doing some kind of spiritual work with another person, like a counselor or a therapist, or maybe even for hypnosis. 12th house can be great for that. But if there's relationship issues going on, right? Sun, Mercury, Mars in your sign, you're feeling very, very passionate, very like full steam ahead with what your goals are. It's creating some friction with Jupiter, Uranus in your 7th house. So there can be exciting times and surprises with other people or leading to meeting other people. But there can also be a sense of being so passionate about what you're doing that it can rub other people the wrong way. So when you have your 7th house Lord enter into the 12th, if there is some not getting along well with another person, you might find that relationships are ending, or they're hiding, or they're taking time away from you, or they're wanting to be in a different space. So just be mindful of that as Venus is going into your 12th house. I do think that this is, in a way, playing off of the eclipses that you have recently had. So I know some Scorpio risings are seeing completions in relationships or completions of old problems in relationships that are finally getting dealt with. All right, so we've got 6 of coins coming up for you guys, which is about give and take. So I think that this is about recognizing maybe where you're feeling more generous or you're feeling more selfless in relationships, where you can give back to other people. Maybe you're wanting to do something for somebody secretly. Maybe it's a surprise or a gift. But it can also be about dedicating your time or being more generous to causes, which does come up with 12th house themes. But watch for this, because there can be a sense also of feeling like there is a sense of needing to be fair and balanced with relationships. And I think the oppositions between the 1st and the 7th house, that's definitely on your mind. And you might be really taking note of like where other people are either excelling or failing to kind of meet your expectations. And it's definitely going to affect how much effort you're going to be putting into some of these relationships, okay? Good luck, my Scorpios. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus going into the sign of Libra in your natal 11th house. So Venus rules this house. Venus also rules your 6th house of health, habits, and daily routine. You are going to see with this transit in your 11th house that friendships and social networks become very important. You may attract like-minded individuals and enjoy the company of friends who share your values and common interests. So I could see this as being a time where, connecting with friends, joining a group, joining an online group, going to a party. And for me, it's about making the time because of Venus's connection to your 6th house. To connect with some of these people. You might find that spending time with friends are important during this period. You may find that there's goals that are common goals that you have with other friends. So like I think of the connection to the 6th house is, do you get together and, take a cooking class with a group of friends? Do you guys food prep together? Do you guys work on a project together? Do you do a group fitness class? That's a great way to kind of blend that 11th and that 6th house energy together, because a lot of it's about productivity. And if you feel slammed and like you've got a lot of things going on with your schedule, or you're hiding out with all the Scorpio in your 12th house, it might be about having a friend that you can call and rely on, or having somebody who, you can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone with. And say, hey, I really need I need to vent. Do you want to come over and like help me fold laundry? I know it doesn't sound glamorous, but, or, I'm totally swamped with this situation and a friend says, I'll come over and help you. And you have the opportunity to kind of connect. I think that's really important with all the planets in your 12th house right now. You'll feel a little bit easier when Mercury is starting to shift into your sign and we start to see sextiles with Venus, but perhaps for the first part of the week, you're feeling a little squirrely with the planets in the 12th. So I feel like calling on those who can lend a helping hand are going to be really helpful. And also recognizing where friends kind of show up to kind of help assist you and move you through some of these squirrely energies in your 12th house. You're coming into where planets are 12th house to your sun, so this is about completions and endings right before we get into Sagittarius season. So see a lot of things kind of wind down right about now. Card that you get is the 10 of Swords. So this does mean something is ending, something is clearing out. It is perhaps sudden or unexpected. It can also mean that there is a need for you to kind of feel like you need to finally put an end to something. Once again, like I said to some of the other signs, the 12th house is one of these ending kind of houses. So with Mercury, Mars, and the sun there, what's wrapping up for you? What are you saying goodbye to? Yes, it could be painful. It could be scary. But the positive is that with Venus here is that you have people to kind of help assist you and help you up, whether it's somebody who wants to cover your shift at work, or if it's your kind of healthcare team that's there to support you in your time of need. Really focus on kind of clearing and letting some of this stuff out and letting other people support you, okay? Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You will be experiencing Venus going through the sign of Libra, and this will be in your natal 10th house of career and professional life. Now, Venus also has connections to your 5th house, which is about creativity, love, romance, and self-expression. When you have Venus go through the 10th house, your public image and career can benefit from this transit. You may be recognized more so for your charm and your grace in professional settings. And it's a good time for career-related social activities. So, get-togethers, meetings, launches, networking events, that kind of stuff is what you want to do. Venus brings the sweetness, right? And Venus at the top part of the chart is really about being seen, and being seen as somebody who is an artist, is a creative, is somehow, getting the recognition that they deserve out in the world. Venus in this sign is 10th house to your ascendant, so it does represent a Saturnian energy. Maybe it's about building relationships with people professionally. It can be a significant relationship with a client, a creative person, or it can be about parenting matters because Venus's connection to your 5th house. Now, Venus is the dispositor of Jupiter and Uranus in the 5th. So some of you guys are like shifting into self-employment, working for yourself, doing new creative things. Some of you guys are focusing more on your reputation as an artist or as a creative or as a parent. Any of these things can kind of come up with a connection to the 5th house. I do feel like you want to watch when Venus is going through the degrees that are going to square your ascendant, sun or moon, and also when it starts coming into a square with Pluto. So definitely watch that Venus video that I'm going to come out with later in this next week. But for right now, enjoy all of the support and the riches, I think, of your professional life kind of really getting a lot of recognition, and obviously a lot of socializing as well with all those planets in the 11th house. Okay, so let's see what card you get, my Capricorns. I love this. 4 of Wands. Parties, gatherings, activities, temporary spaces is this card. And it can also be about gatherings and celebrations of like love. This can be engagement parties, weddings, new partnerships at work, promotions, things like that. So where there's events and things or get-togethers or gatherings that's celebrating something, that's where you want to be. Good luck. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Venus entering into Libra, and it will be in your 9th house. And this is a fellow sister air sign, so it'll be making a trine to your sun, moon, or rising, which is harmonious. The 9th house is, culture, travel, philosophy, higher education, your belief systems. So this is a fun place for Venus to be. It can be an indication that there is a relationship that might be developing at a distance, or a relationship with a teacher or a mentor or like a spiritual guide. Now, Venus also has connections to your 4th house of home and family, and your roots, property, and past. So if you're looking to, travel, back home to visit family, or maybe you've got somebody traveling from further away to come and see you. This can also be about in-laws if you're somebody who's partnered in a relationship with a female in-law. But it can also be about looking at homes and property in foreign lands or legal matters revolving around home and family estates. Now, this transit can inspire you to explore new horizons, be seeking out beauty in other cultures and philosophies, and it might also have you more drawn to higher education or spiritual pursuits, but likely something you could do with another person. So maybe it's like, you're thinking about taking a trip with someone because you're really drawn to a specific location and you like the culture, you like the art or the places. Maybe you're wanting to meet with, somebody who's going to help you plan a trip. So like meeting with a travel agent or, talking it over with a friend or a partner before like booking accommodations is something that you might do with this transit. Besides that, I think the other way to look at this is that it is getting you a little bit more interested and open-minded to potentially visiting or traveling places that you may considering relocating to. I think about how Venus is the dispositor of these 2 planets down here in your 4th house, including Uranus, which is your sign. And it may have you traveling, but also thinking about where you're thinking about landing in the spring of next year. Let's see what the cards say. Oh, I love it. I think that's bang on with the Uranus connection. So you get the Fool, and this is a card that's ruled by Uranus, and it's about taking chances, going places, doing your own thing, going your own way. I think this is about, being more open to exploring. And so maybe you're like, I've never had a long distance relationship, but I would try it. Or, I've never tried this type of cuisine, but I would try it. And it looks like it's going to be in support or through support of another person. So somebody's going to be encouraging you to travel or experience something, or they're wanting to teach you something, and you're feeling hopeful and like optimistic about doing this new thing. I love that transit for you. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus entering into Libra. This will be in your natal 8th house. Venus also has connections to Taurus, which is your 3rd house. Well, when Venus goes into the 8th house, you have to remember the 8th house is a planet that's about kind of going to the underworld and then, you know, being reborn when it comes either through Scorpio or I think eventually through Sagittarius. But let's just say for the sake of this, when it comes into Scorpio, it's going to be a very different vibe. The 8th house is about intimate and deep connections. This will be emphasized. You may find pleasure in exploring the depths of your relationships and financial matters, and it's a time for transformation and shared resources. Now, because of Venus's connection to the 3rd house, I think this is about how you communicate and talk about maybe intimacy or joint resources or relationships. Maybe it's about, you know, having a heart-to-heart conversation or sending a really heartfelt note or letter to someone. It might be about discussing, you know, changes when it comes to the way that you think about money, resources, and security. It is very likely that the theme here, though, is going to be about communicating change. I think about Venus being connected to the 3rd house, and it can indicate that you're reassessing your expenses and whether or not it makes sense to make a change in a vehicle or a gadget. You know, 8th house is other people's money, so things like credit and loans are a theme here. So you may have more options or opportunities to kind of upgrade some of these themes. So it can be, you know, you're refinancing something, or you're looking at taking out a loan for something, or you have the ability to improve something in regards to how you get around or how you're kind of living in your day-to-day. So it's definitely a wonderful time to consider making changes or transformations here. I think about how Venus is going to quincunx or in conjunct Saturn. So it does also make me feel like if there were to be a change in communication or a change in relationships to someone, it's stemming from the fact that you're like, you know, I have really strong expectations or really strong, you know, boundaries, and, you know, not willing to back down or make sacrifices any longer. So that means that other people have to step up more. Other people have to pay their own way more. Other people have to communicate better. They have to be clearer because you're kind of holding that strong position, not willing to budge. Let's take a look. Let's see what these cards say for you, my Pisces. The card that I get is the 8 of Wands, which is cool because it can be about swift change and movement. So maybe you're all about, you know, saying, hey, this is what needs to shift or change in a relationship, and it's about experiencing that. And I still think it's through your commitment and the unwillingness to kind of sacrifice, you know, your happiness or your own goals or your own needs for the sake of a relationship, that the willingness to stick with that may actually bring sudden rapid change. Rapid change or, you know, shift in general is going to come from like Mars. So I think about like Mars, you know, trining some of your placements in Pisces most likely, or, you know, Mercury and Mars coming into a trine with Neptune, where you're going to go, you know, I'm being optimistic about the future. Maybe a financial matter had to change. Maybe a vehicle had to change. Maybe a relationship had to change, or even where I'm living. But I'm sticking with, you know, being more optimistic and open-minded about the future in hopes that that's going to, you know, create a dynamic where there is more of a fair, balanced give and take with other people. Right? So yeah, look for that sudden change to be happening. And also, like, come on, Venus in the 8th house, that's sexy, right? That's a lot of opportunity for physical or intimate connection. 8 of Wands is very much the same thing. So you might just see suddenly there's like a multitude of options or just a lot of opportunities to connect with somebody that comes up very, very abruptly. Good luck. All right, guys. Well, I hope that that's helpful in navigating this next week. I will be back here giving you guys some videos, obviously on Tuesday and Thursday. This week, we're going to be tackling, really looking at Venus's trek through the sign of Libra a little bit more specifically with some of these aspects, which is kind of wild because it's pretty much unaspected except for those quincunxes. We're going to talk about Mercury going into Sagittarius and how that's probably going to affect some of the media, especially because Mercury will retrograde through Sagittarius back into Capricorn. So we will be experiencing a retrograde shadow later this month. If you guys want more information on that, check out your horoscopes for November of 2023. They are out. I take you through that. And you can catch me here on Friday. We're going to be doing live astrology readings, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll post that link on my community tab. That's why it's important to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so you're alerted as to when that's coming out. But if you're wanting to get a astrology reading with me, please do drop in, say hello, come hang out with me on Friday. If you guys like my content, you want to support me, you can do that simply by sharing this video or giving me a thumbs up. Obviously, I always appreciate your guys' donations or by joining my memberships. You make it possible for me to be a full-time content creator here on YouTube. I have lots of plans for 2024, lots of new content and things that I want to be creating. So your guys' support really means the world to me. It makes it possible for me to have time to shoot these videos and have the time to do the research and the stuff to bring this to YouTube. If you guys want to book a personal reading with me, I have openings in 2024. I do one-on-one sessions for 30 minutes or an hour. They're live on Zoom, and I do everything from solar returns to natal charts, transit readings, synastry readings, election dates, and much, much more. Check out my website at Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. It's beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can find me there. I have also all kinds of other offerings. I now am selling all of my 2024 lunar and astrology calendars. For some of those, we have a digital version. And those of you guys who want your own personalized transits for the next year, you can pick that up on my website as well. Just head on over to my products page. You'll see there's a calendar page, there is a candle page, and I think we're also doing gift cards too. So if you guys want to give the gift of a reading, consider doing that. All right, guys, well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Please take it easy with this square that's kind of taking place today. Try to be kind to one another and focus on some of the positive with this Venus in Libra. I'm surely looking forward to it as well. I'll catch you guys all back here next time on Tuesday. Take care.